Hi everyone, I'm Sabrina Baker. I am a special educator in a local school district. I'm also a board certified behavior analyst, and I am a mom of two. And we are here to talk about making learning fun through games and cooking. We were supposed to do this seminar at Autism Cares at the end of March, but with everything that's going on, we decided that it was best for us to not present in front of people. But after speaking with Autism Cares, we felt that the information that we had and resources that we were going to talk about are still very appropriate for parents and very applicable actually in the situation that we're in now. And so we are doing this seminar virtually, and hopefully it works out and we can do more for you guys. But as a special educator and a behaviorist, I can speak about games and cooking as far as starting games, implementing games, working through behaviors during games, modifying the games. But a huge aspect of games and cooking, there's a huge language piece. And so I have a dear friend of mine and who's also a speech pathologist here who's going to help me present. This is Kathryn. So Kathryn.
Hi everyone, my name's Kathryn. I am also a speech language pathologist in a local school district. So here to support that language piece and work alongside Sabrina and helping you all achieve the learning and fun aspects of cooking and games in your homes as we get through this quarantine together.
Okay, so for our first steps basically is to, when you first start doing games or cooking or any activity in your house, it's really important to know your child's strengths and needs. And if we were a few weeks back, I would typically say, hey, it's really important to meet with your IEP team and know what your child's present levels are, what they're capable of, what they're doing in school, what kind of games are they doing there. I know that's difficult right now I'm not sure how everyone's connecting with their teams, but a lot of you probably have access to your child's IEP and should know, what they're working on, what some goals are. So I think the first step is when you're doing any sort of activity with your child, you want to make sure that they're capable of actually doing the task. You don't want to all of a sudden start working on colors with your child and they've never done it before. You don't want to start doing numbers beyond 10, or even, if they're not even doing numbers right now, starting that. It's something that is too new for them and it will become aversive to them. And so you don't want to push them through this. You actually want this to be fun. So first is knowing your child's present levels. Another thing to do is really assessing what motivates your child. What's their interest? What do they like to do? I have a 3-year-old daughter, and I have some props here that I'm going to try to show. And I got her this Frozen memory game because she adores Frozen. So that's something that I know that she loves. It's a game that we can play and it's exciting for her. So you want to use things that motivate your child. Using your interests. If your child, say, doesn't like cooking for some reason, you don't want to push cooking on them. But say your child likes one snack that they really love, then you could go, you can use that to your advantage and start cooking it in different ways. Say you do peanut butter and jelly every single day. Change it up, use a cookie cutter, cut it a different way, have them make the sandwich. There's so many things that you can do to modify an activity as well as making it fun for your child. So those are the first steps. Kathryn, do you have anything to add to that?
I don't think so. I think you got it all.
Okay. All right, go ahead.
So just when we talk about games, and it can be anything from the Frozen memory game that Sabrina had mentioned to other games that we're going to show out. But look at what's on your shelf. You don't feel like just because we suggest something here, feel like you need to go out and buy it. So you have a lot of things already in your house, but then also introducing something new might be exciting and fun and novel for your kiddos. There's so many skills that can be practiced when you think about just a simple gameplay activity such as memory or pop the pig. You're working on that turn taking, modeling practice of my turn, your turn. Whose turn is it? The patience and wait time, especially if you're playing with more than 2 players, you want to be demonstrating and practicing that we have to wait. It's not our turn, because if it is a very motivating game, that person or that child is going to want to go grab and take that turn. So knowing that they need to wait. the language to understand the rules and concepts of the game, so that they're not necessarily kind of building off that wait time, but also knowing that I need to wait my turn, but I also need to put the, if you're doing Pop the Pig, for example, those of you who are familiar with it, and if you're not, give me a second, but you're going to need to put something in the pig's mouth. So knowing that it goes in, you're practicing that prepositional phrase, following 1 and 2 step directions, put in, give me, your turn, staying in your seat or on the carpet, wherever you're doing, and the eye contact, definitely encouraging holding the object next to your face. So you're encouraging that eye contact or eye gaze. Doesn't need to be staring at all. And I actually really encourage a lot of our students who are on the spectrum, eye contact is really challenging and it has to be taught. So that's something that this can also help develop.
And not only are skills that can be practiced, but areas that games build, I guess you can say strengthen in those areas of needs that your child are working through. Games that I use in the classroom a lot, and actually I have pretty much all in my house right now as well. So they're really applicable to really any level or any age. I have, you can basically use, there's a lot of colors, numbers, counting. A lot of games incorporate letter matching. Memory is a really good game, which you could also modify a lot, and you can use that as matching, which is another really great skill to build on. Cause and effect, problem solving. Yes and no is really a very challenging, I guess, difficult skill to work on, and that you can really take a lot of games and change them to use to work on yes, no. I'll show you one with Zingo that we can talk about later. Social interaction. I think right now we're all inside with each other. Families are really bonding right now. And I think games are a really great way to have everybody sit around and interact with each other. Another really important skill, and I guess an area that you can work on, is winning and losing. I think that's something actually that needs to be taught and practiced, because it's really hard to lose, and it's also really hard to be a good winner. So I think both of them are really good areas to practice right now. Not only, there's so many skills that when you sit down for a game, you don't realize that you're really hitting so many areas with such a simple game. But your child might think you're just having a great time, but in your head, you don't realize how much teaching and learning that you're doing for them.
So kind of piggybacking off of what we just talked about, the goal for playing these games is to have fun. Learning is hard for a lot of our students on the spectrum, so we want to make sure that we're doing everything we can to make it fun and engaging. It helps limit screen time, and Sabrina and I both know that this is a really big challenge for a lot of families right now as we learn a new way of life, given what's going on in our society right now. But these are just things that you can put in your back pocket for a rainy day. It helps build your relationships with the siblings or family members, depending on what your home culture is, and grandmom and grandpa who are coming over and really want to connect with your student, and how to do that. It gives guidelines. It makes it fun. It's motivating. So we want to build on what is motivating. I find that a lot of the cause and effect games are very motivating for our young learners. It helps not only build the language piece, but it also keeps them engaged with what's going on, because the anticipation of who's going to pop the pig or who's going to pop the pirate. So all of those things, who did it? And you're answering those WH questions as well. So you can modify. We're going to talk a little more about plan sabotage. So if they need the die to roll for their turn, holding that a little longer and having that language be that I need or I want to make sure that they can take their turn. So all of those things are the benefits of playing any sort of game, and you can model and develop some of these with whatever game you're playing.
Perfect. Okay, so here are I just took a bunch of pictures and posted, some games that I actually have played in my classroom as well as played at home with my child. Again, Kathryn just mentioned cause and effect, and I think actually 4 of them are cause and effect game, because they are one of the best ones that I find the kids really love and request when we say it's time to play, what can we play? Oftentimes they go to either Pop Pig or Jumping Jack, or definitely Pop Pirate. The other games shown are also really, they're really exciting. DVD Bingo is wonderful. Uno, you can do a ton of stuff with an Uno card. Candyland is fun because it's colors, turn taking. Obviously, there are hundreds of games out there. I've just listed a few that I'm comfortable with, and then I have, that I know Kathryn and I have both used in the classroom, as well as I'm sure outside the classroom.
Just Sabrina, one more thing that I want to talk about Uno, like a simple way, you're also working on how to hold cards when you're playing games for some of our older elementary and middle school, how to hold cards, how to not show your cards to other people. But if your student is a younger elementary student or child, it's okay to be putting them down on the table and saying, do you have, and giving that language to model of that color or number, whatever the direction of that game is. Don't be afraid for some of those games, because it's okay to model and make adjustments.
Yeah, and especially it's actually a huge fine motor activity. When you are holding those cards up, that's hard.
It is hard.
So that Uno definitely has a lot of components to it, but you don't have to follow the exact rules of Uno. Like I said, you can modify a ton of them. Kathryn, I'm going to jump on and do Pop the Pig just because I have it right here with me.
Go for it.
So one of our top favorites is Pop the Pig, and I have my Pop the Pig model here. So you can work on color identification, counting, fine motor skills, eye contact, which Kathryn mentioned, taking, my turn, your turn, passing a pig. But basically you have a pig, you have it's a hamburger, and it's colors, and on the back are little numbers. And there is dice involved, and you can roll it. It says here you can find, say you roll yellow, you find the yellow, you identify what number, 3, put them in put the hamburger in the pig's mouth, and then you're pushing down. So in that chain of skills, you are rolling die, which is hard. You have to actually, that is something I have had to teach in school. Because you don't want someone throwing these. This is, you want them to be appropriate. That you're using it on the table. A good suggestion to modify this is to put it in a cup. Have it in a cup, then use that as a shaker, and then roll the dice versus having it in their hands. It might be easier. Keeps it a little bit more contained. Then you're picking up a very small hamburger. So you're using that pincher grasp a lot for fine motor skills, placing it in the mouth, and then you're pushing down using your shoulder skills to push down the pig. So there's so many things that work on with this simple little Pop the Pig game, which at the end, obviously, when his belly gets really big, he pops, and that's what really entices a lot of the children. Now, to modify, you can take away the dice, have this gone. You don't even have to worry about it. You can be the controller of and say, find the red hamburger, find red, find yellow, and have them identify color. Or you can flip them over and have them just identify numbers. You could also not even have to worry about the pig aspect of it. You could just have them either match these colors. You can use these pieces in so many different ways. So Pop the Pig to me is such an excellent game to have in your back pocket, just because it does so many things all at once. It's a true favorite at the Baker household. So.
You could even put the hamburgers in some sort of sensory bin if that's something that your child is seeking. Bury those hamburgers in. What did you find? I found. So it's all different starter phrases that you're modeling. I want, I need, I found, I see. So the language possibilities are endless. This is definitely a fan favorite game. Yep. Another one for on the docket of games is perfection. So you're not only working on the simple object identification, but also that fine motor piece of organizing and the visual spatial of making sure that it goes in the right way. You might find the right piece, but then turning it so that it fits in the whole correctly. So simple objects such as a heart, a flower, dinosaurs, things that are common vocabulary words that you would use within the school setting. My turn, your turn again, hold on to that last one, or hurry. The receptive language is find the. So there's definitely the possibilities of using this game for gameplay as well, even with more than one person. I feel like a lot of people, when you see this game, you think it's just a one-player game. But again, holding on to that last heart, or it's my turn, can I have a turn? Yes, no. So kind of involving as many people as you can with these gameplays. opportunities as well.
It's also such a great cause and effect because it pops in the end. Oftentimes it's like a mad rush, but again, you don't actually have to turn that setting on. You could just take your time the whole time and allow the matching and the skills to be practiced. Another fan favorite, again, I have is Pop the Pirate. I have this one at home as well. It's color identification because you have a bunch of different pieces. Eye contact, joint attention, my turn, your turn, and then you have a little pirate that goes in and he pops out. So that cause and effect is also part of this activity. Again, you can control it where you're calling out, find the red, find the yellow, find blue. You can really change it to however you want to make it, more or less more challenging.
And when you're putting the swords in the pirate barrel, you can also say put next to the blue, or put under, put top bottom. So you can also, there's a lot of prepositional phrases that you can work on with this as well.
That's a good point too.
There are so many Zingo games, and my favorite is the one that works on more of that fringe vocabulary, but those nouns, there's letter identification, number identification, sight word Zingo. So you can certainly, you're working on that identification of whatever version of Zingo you have or like, working on the fine motor to not only take the pieces out, move the piece back and forth, but also put the used pieces back in. You're working on those matching skills. Again, my turn, your turn, the receptive language of find the, if you're looking for a binary choice so binary choice meaning the two objects that are coming out, but again, yes or no, do you have, a lot of times when you can, just to modify, you can, although it was my turn to take the two and I didn't have any, I can then ask the next person, do you want my heart? Do you want my soccer ball? So that you're giving that option, incorporating more of those language skills. And again, the pre-reading skills, I know there's a lot of nouns that are on the Zingo board that is being shown on the screen right now, but there are so many other types of Zingos, and don't be afraid to make your own. You're just using a piece of paper, and you can draw your own if you're working on more core vocabulary words and using the pictures that are from your child's, if your child's an AAC user, making those icons to be used as well.
I have Zingo as well at my house. And I like
got games. All the goodies over there.
The Bakers love games. So I have a board, and I was going to say is another way you can modify this is going back to the yes, no that I talked about prior, is that yes, no is really hard. And when you have Zingo, you're basically saying like, yes, do I have this, or no, that I don't. And so, but you don't always, like when you're running through the game, you don't often say, usually it's not something that you commonly say like, yes, I have this, no, I don't have this, but you could, and that could be a good practice where, like I wrote the word yes, I don't know if you can see, it might be backwards, on this board, and then you would have just another piece of paper, like another pile that says no, and so this is a kite, and I'd say I pulled it out, I would say yes, like I have the kite, or you could even model that for your child and say like, yes, this is, yes, kite, like this is the yes pile, and then since I don't have a cup, this would go in the no pile. So then you're practicing saying yes, no, every time you get a match. And obviously, again, this is all geared around your child's, again, motivation. If they are willing to do this, you don't want to sit there and force them if they don't want to play this game. But if they are willing to work on yes, no with you, and it's fun and it's motivating because it's Zingo, I would totally use this as a great way to practice, because it's super like visual, and like they can see that yes, they have this, or no, they don't.
And it just kind of gives more concrete examples of what a yes and no is, because it is very abstract. And again, think about giving that positive reinforcement to your child when they do what they're engaging, because you want to make sure that it is fun. So yes, you got it. Make a really big deal of it. Give those tickles and give that reinforcement so that they know that what they're doing with you means something.
Totally. I feel like a lot of this, these games lead themselves into reinforcement, you know, like they all have praise for everybody, or you're receiving something at the end, like with Pop the Pig, that you're getting those reinforcements at the end. And I think that's really motivating for kids. Just to change gears now, we're going to talk about cooking activities. And in the PDF that will be sent along with this video, there is a cooking activity for Leprechaun Fizz. And I mean, I know it's not super applicable at this point, but I will, you know, I think Autism Cares will be giving out other resources that you guys connect with us, and we have some other recipes that we can post for you guys. But some skills that can be practiced is turn taking. Definitely cooking, you can definitely work on turn taking, pouring in, measuring things. Patience, definitely, because you have to wait. In school, I often use a song, you know, you have to wait until you cook it, because although you're making cookies, the cookies don't come out right away because they need to be cooked. So patience is really important and definitely something that needs to be taught. The language to understand the rules and concepts of the activity. So mixing, pouring, sprinkle, shake, all really, they could be really new words for your child. So showing them what sprinkle means, shake, pour, mix. Don't assume that they actually know what mix is or what pour means. Following directions, definitely. I think cooking activities lends itself to actually some older learners. With the cooking lessons that I have, that Kathryn and I have posted and made, we often try to use them from reading skills. We adapt the recipes so that young learners can read the directions, and hopefully they can start working on their own cooking activities, as well as listening skills is something that's super important.
Again, this should say areas that cooking can build are those math skills. So the measurement, identifying a spoon, fork, or knife, depending on what your cooking activity is, bowl. But then again, some of the higher learners, you could say quarter cup, half cup, things like that. Counting how many of things. If you need 2 cups of milk or 2 cups of flour, that you're pouring that in. Identifying the ingredients. Often we use a lot of visuals, so pictures of something for them to go and match and support that receptive language of following directions. But then sequencing and following a recipe, it's not going to turn out the way it's supposed to if you're not following that recipe. So you need to know first, next, then, or even first and then. So that way you're breaking it down for our learners just to their level, and they can follow the directions with our support.
So benefits of cooking, I think, are great. I feel like I've been doing cooking activities with my daughter at home since she was, you know, as soon as she could stand, just because I think it's so engaging, it's fun, it's motivating for her. Again, this is knowing my own child. I think in school, I do a cooking lesson weekly, actually, with Kathryn, and I think the kids are really motivated by it as well, especially if it's something that they really want to eat. And it's something that's fun, it's different. So it's again, simply just having fun. Again, it limits screen time. It builds relationships, because like I said, like while we're in the house right now, what else can you do? You know, like you're in the home, you can play games, but at the same time, that cooking can be not only, you know, breakfast, lunch, and dinner. You can make it an activity where they're joining in and helping. It can be motivating, which I said, you know, definitely baking cookies is something that can be motivating for myself. So I like to bake cookies. It's reinforcing. If you can't go out, again, we can't go out. So it's important for us to try to, to bring some activities to you guys. We felt cooking would be exciting. And of course, at the end, there's a delicious reinforcer. So it's natural reinforcing at the end.
Absolutely.
Sorry, Kathryn, I'm going to jump in on this one too again.
Absolutely, go ahead.
Just because I have it here. So this is our Leprechaun Fizz recipe. And basically this is what we use as a template in all of our activities that we've used. And you'll get this as a PDF, and what you'll see is there's 2 pages that look the same. It's really hard to see, I'm sorry. But basically the Leprechaun Fizz, which is on here, there's 2 pages of ingredients, because what I like to do is I cut them out. And if you do have a laminar and Velcro, you could do this whole where you take and have pieces. You don't have to do that. You could just cut them out and use tape, or not even worry about it. But it's another, you can use this in multiple ways. The reason why I give you 2 is that this is basically the home base for all of your ingredients, and now you have little pieces. So either prior to the activity, you can talk about what you're going to cook and what you need, and you can use it as a matching activity. Or what I like to do is at school, if you were allowed to go to the grocery store, what I like to do is say, we need these ingredients. So I have the students go and we need to go buy spoons. We need to go buy soda. And these are great visuals for while you're in the grocery store. But while we're home, what I would do at home is I would put all the ingredients, say, on a table. And I will say to, say, my daughter, and say, you know, I need you to go get this, which are, it says it's spoons. And then she has to go over the table, finds the spoons and brings them back. So they're great visual supports, and you can move around with these pieces. So that's why I gave you 2, so you can cut them out and use them in multiple ways. It's also a fun activity after, because then it's a matching activity. And then the pieces, you can store them on here, which is good. So that's why there's 2 pieces, but that part of it is basically an interactive way to gather the ingredients before you are gonna cook. And I do that with all my recipes, because I think it's really important to know what's going into what you're cooking. And then what we talked about before is that we basically break down all of our recipes into these simple steps. This one's only 5 steps, and you know, the words that we're using are words that are usually known to the student, but if not, again, it's something that you guys can work on. Visuals are paired with the words, so they could start, it's pre-reading skills. And hopefully, you know, if you have older learners, they might be able to go through and read this and do it on their own, and you could basically shadow behind them and see how much they can do on their own. I wouldn't recommend doing this, you know, letting a small child doing this by themselves, but it's also really motivating, because who doesn't love an ice cream float? But basically it's super user friendly, and you guys have a copy, and we will hopefully post more, so you're not only working on Leprechaun Fizz activities.
And don't think about, some of our learners might need you to cut up the directions as well, so that it's not overwhelming. You can go one by one to work through as well. Don't be afraid to any of the materials that we send to cut up and use as what you guys need at home.
Yeah,
So take a pair of scissors and cut out 2 copies.
yeah, that's a good idea. You can cut like 1, 2, 3, 4, all different steps, which is really good.
Absolutely.
This is just a quick this is another one really fast. This is snowflakes. This was super simple. It's just snowflakes using pretzels. And I was trying to think of things that I actually had in my closet cabinet right now, because I know a lot of people aren't going out. But since we're hoping for more spring, I don't know if this one's super exciting anymore, but it's just another option that you can use. And then, oops, sorry again. There we go.
So just thinking about, and Sabrina and I are going to try to give you as many ideas as we can, because we are very passionate about doing all of these things with your child, but also recognizing that at home right now, these ideas can be really applicable, not only today, but also given the circumstances going on tomorrow. So think about rice buckets. You can see the picture on the screen of the swords, actually from the gameplay that we were demonstrating earlier of Pop the Pirate. And simply, it's not only now a game, it's also that sensory finding the sword in the rice bucket and matching the sword color to the construction paper colors that are on in front of her. The water play, washing the kitchen foods or toys, pretending, wiping, things like that, but also add in some color, some bubbles. It's kind of going with the painting in the bathtub. It's okay, you know, as the weather starts to turn, and to go outside and use that, because water is a love of a lot of our students. Red light, green light for that stop and go, hot and cold for yes and no. Simply playing music. A lot of our learners love listening to music. Play, stop, louder, softer. No, I don't like. There's so many language modeling opportunities with music alone. When you're on the swing, plan that manipulation of stop pushing them, or stop the swing altogether, and have them request, I want more push, jump higher, you know, whatever you want to model, the possibilities are endless. And simple things that you're probably doing in your day-to-day routines can be language modeling opportunities. When you play bingo or puzzles, you can hide the piece of the puzzle for that planned sabotage again. And wind-up toys are an awesome and relatively cheap way that you can find at the grocery store sometimes, but also at the dollar store for that stop and go. The fine motor of if the child's able to wind it themselves, or you can stop and have a roadblock and see move or uh-oh, so that you're modeling all different types of things with those cars.
Yeah, I think we added this slide because thinking out of the box right now, I think is going to become everyone's almost new normal, because you just need to look around your house and find anything to motivate your kids and play with your kids, but keeping in mind these skills that we just talked about for games. Like I said, I actually the other day was doing a rice bucket with my daughter, and we were working on colors, and I needed something to hide, and I got Pop Pirate and thought, hey, yeah, like these are colors, and she knows these, and she knows these pieces, so I'm going to hide them, and she can match them and sort them. So I knew she was doing multiple skills while doing that. You could even use for Pop the Pig, you can hide things. We've been doing a lot of hide and seek kind of games, and you can use so many game pieces to do that. So thinking outside of your box, sometimes looking at any game, you might think this is how the one way of playing it, but there's so many ways that you can do different things. And I always say I said painting in the bathtub, because bath time's it doesn't have to always be at night. If you put some paper up, you don't even have to put paper up, put your kids in bathing suits, put them in the bathtub and let them paint with some finger paints during the day. Like, that's exciting for them. It's out of routine. Usually you just go in the bathtub at night, but this is like a new fun game, and it's super easy to clean up. So just really, if you know what your child's strengths and needs are, what motivates them, and you incorporate some sensory activities. Language is definitely part of pretty much any of these activities that we mentioned. And you guys are really hitting home with so many skills while you're home, and you're working on a lot of things and keeping your child, up to date. And basically you guys are, maintaining what they should be learning in school. So I think you can really, if you think out of the box with all these ideas, you really build a lot of skills. Okay, so top 5. Oh my goodness, I'm so sorry. I keep doing that. So top 5 takeaways. This is actually the PDF that you did receive. It's just basically a reminder of a summary of what Kathryn and I just talked about. First, it's important to assess your child's interests in areas of strength and need. Encourage language, but don't push it. Modeling and role playing with siblings is really important. Number 3 is make it motivating and engaging. What excites your child? Number 4, think out of the box, like we just went over. And of course, if all else fails, as long as you just have fun, that's what is important. I feel like definitely right now in these times, I think as long as you're having fun, that's the main goal.
Absolutely.
So I think that brings us to the end. And I know we can't really ask any questions because we're not live, we're taping this. But if you do have questions, you can contact, these are both of our email addresses. I also have Shaping the Spectrum is something where I started. I'm on Instagram, YouTube, and Facebook, and I basically post a lot of activities. I have some videos, mini lessons that I have been creating over the years, and just posting them for everybody to utilize as resources. So please visit me if you can, and hopefully you guys enjoyed this. And we enjoyed presenting for you guys. We both loved doing this. We love talking about it. We love sharing resources. We hope that we can do more of these for you guys. So if there's any other things or areas of need, we'd love to hear from you. So you can email us with some ideas for us to do some more videos, or however we can help, we'd really appreciate it. So.
Absolutely. We're here to support you guys, and please know we're always open to anything that you need us to make or do and model, and let us know.
Yes, and I hope everyone stays safe, and thanks so much.